Today we dive into the Spiderfang grots, one of the dominant cultures that make up the Gloomspite Gits. To really understand them, we need to kind of take them in isolation. We're going to talk about their beliefs, their relationship with spiders and Gorkamorka, and the various units available to them. Now, as we discussed at the beginning of this week with the kind of general Gloomspite Gits video, every subspecies has its own view of Gorkamorka. Some see him as a hungering mountain, the gnashing maw, the war god, but all the Gloomspite Gits kind of merge his greatness with the Bad Moon, taking the indescribable and attributing it to something tangible. Now, we don't know a ton about the Spiderfang view of Gorkamorka. It seems to be kind of like the Bone Splitters revere the spirit of Gorkamorka within the myriad of beasts and large creatures that roam the realms. They seem to do that for spiders specifically. Like they view a sort of holiness to the arachnids of the realms. But more importantly, we do understand their reverence for the Bad Moon. Their origin story for it is that a colossal spider god beast, a creature which is an indescribable magnitude, bit the foot of Gorkamorka and became infused with the power of a god. To them, the Bad Moon is a colossal silken spider egg that one day will burst open and unleash an ungodly swarm of arachnids across the realms. To that end, they revere, honor, coexist, venerate, and ride spiders. The spiders are seen as the tangible presence of Gorkamorka's power, and the Bad Moon is the promise of more blessings yet to come. Spiderfang grots can be found all across the realms, tucked away in dark caves and tunnels, beneath collapsed cities and thick forests. These locations are called nests, but it's important to note that they almost belong more to the spiders than to the grots. The power of any given nest is centered around the number and size of the Arachnarok spiders that it has in there. That's a specific species of spider we'll talk about in a little bit. But just like squigs, they are creatures that blend together with grot mentality super well. And these Spiderfang grots, as they kind of grew and encountered the Moonclan grot, or just various other grot tribes, deals were struck, trades were made, and slowly the cultures integrated, understanding they're more effective as a team than in isolation. Now, as I mentioned before, the way you kind of gauge a Spiderfang nest's power is by the size of its military force, which means how many spiders it has available to it. The core of that military force being Arachnaroks, the giant centerpiece spiders that you see in the model range. When an army of Spiderfang rolls out, it's known as a stock tribe, and it's almost always led by a shaman. It is they who believe that there's divine venom in their bloods, able to empower and invigorate spiders and grots alike. If you are a big and mean warrior, you can become a scuttle boss, which is sort of like a warrior chieftain and champion for the shaman. So it kind of creates an important distinction between them and Moonclan grots, because we see instantly Spiderfang have far more organization. It's still very fluid, but there is a particular devotion to shamans. Like the people who wield the divine venom in their bloods are always going to be in charge. There's a firm tribal leadership hierarchy. It's flexible, but it's generally the same across all Spiderfang tribes. And when I talk about organization and kind of an intelligence, for all their cackling and screaming, the spider mounts themselves are not like squigs. The arachnids are intelligent, largely silent creatures of incredible might. They display the mind of a true predator rather than that of being like a wild beast that's let loose from captivity. They're able to set traps, sneak behind the enemy line, hit soft points, pull enemies away in a web, things like that. And then, of course, this army is followed up by the Arachnaroks, who deliver the killing blow. So where the Moonclan grots have the bodies to accomplish their missions, Spiderfang have the mind. And I enjoyed that. I like that it's different but very complementary. And so now we're going to transition to talking about the units, and because of the way that the book really dives into the lore of the Arachnaroks, there's more here than I initially expected there to be. We'll always, as we do, start at the bottom with the Spider Riders. This is the main fighting arm of any Spiderfang raiding party. The equation is simple. Take a large spider and a grot rider. Now, as I said before, they're much more controlled than, say, a squig hopper. That's an important distinction, and there are several breeds of spiders that can be used, but they're all deadly silent and they generally follow the orders of their rider. So where being a squig hopper rewards the bravery of a grot for trying to ride a squig, being a spider rider really rewards the intelligence of the rider. If you can guide your spider to the right place, the right flank to hit, you're rewarded with kind of accolades of war. And while spiders aren't as fast as squigs, they can keep the speed they do have over the roughest terrain. They have much more control. And this makes them fantastic ambushers and light cavalry, able to pop up anywhere, strike, and retreat to the shadows. And in fact, this kind of branch of the military, the spider riders are known for taking victims alive to feed to their larger cousins. Above the spider riders are the scuttle bosses, which we talked about before, and this is if a spider rider displays true brutality, skill, or might, a shaman may elevate him to the rank of scuttle boss. And while he's not actually braver than any of the spider riders, they're kind of crazy from the spider venom in their veins, so they become more bold. In fact, so bold they display a very rare trait amongst grot leadership, which is leading from the front. So you may ask yourself, why do they have venom inside of them? Well, as the shaman's champions, they're constantly engaged in these deep rituals, like I guess you could say religious rituals, that see them bitten by all manner of spider to take in that venom. The idea is to become more like your deity. And this does two things. It makes them tougher, more resistant to pain and venom, and it drives them a little bit crazy. In some cases, it can even cause a bit of mutation, such as having 8 eyes or something like that. For all their troubles, they are gifted a gigantic spider, which is, let's lower the name as gigantic spider. It's just a bigger spider to ride. These are rare, kind of apex predators across the realms, and shamans are extremely greedy for their eggs, so they can always have more champions, kind of increasing their power base. Next up are the Webspinner shamans. Now these are the high priests and wizards of the spider god, the conduits of his will, and the undisputed leader of his people. A tribe may have a cabal of shamans where they exert authority and their word is law, which is funny because it can backfire as they become progressively more deranged over time. When I say deranged, I mean they'll call for grand actions like, hey, Spiderfang grots, we're all going to paint ourselves blue because I had a vision where we need to be blue. Or sometimes they'll take the spoils of war and drop it into a pit because they had a vision where they needed to do that, but there's no real reason behind these things. And they kind of exhibit these very strange habits. So a shaman will invite a nest of tiny spiders into their body. So you'll see little nests kind of growing behind their ears and their armpits, on their backs. And the resulting spider bites infuse them with all kinds of mind-altering venom. This leads to huge visions of the spider god himself and allows them to enter the nests of the Arachnaroks without fear. It also, as a side effect, morphs their magic. Because in any other circumstance, these would be normal grot shaman, able to wield traditional magics, but everything's kind of mutated a little bit spidery, and their magics are as well. So they'll conjure ethereal webs to act as shields, or hordes of spiders made of like nothingness to kind of attack. That's where we have that spider endless spell. And their sole purpose in life is to please the spider god, but also abide by the Arachnaroks that they try to harmonize with. This, by nature, makes them kind of maniac a little bit, but also a warlike tribe, because they need to constantly be bringing food for the Arachnaroks, pushing the boundaries, and things like that. And being servants of the Arachnarok is a great segue to talking about them themselves. Now, if you haven't seen them, the Arachnaroks are incredibly massive spiders. These are the centerpiece units of any spider-themed army. They are living war machines, colossal in size and might. One of the undisputed top predators across the mortal realms, and they can entrap and obliterate entire gore tribes. They'll rampage through entire Sylvaneth conclaves, paralyze and devour gorgons. They are just mountains of chitin and venom. Their web is so toxic that if they were to wrap up a living free-guild person in their web, they would break down into kind of this protein mush in a matter of hours. Now, no one is really certain if the worship of a spider god came before or after the meeting of an Arachnarok, meaning did a grot meet him and then say, oh, spiders are incredible, or did it happen afterwards? Not really sure, but no Spiderfang grots could hope to tame one and kind of lived in fear of them. But they did find that when they started putting up banners and offering prayers to the spider god, meaning the god beast that bit Gorkamorka, so they're still worshiping Gorkamorka, but in the spirit of a spider, I should clarify that, they were allowed to live in kind of this tenuous harmony with the Arachnaroks. So they revere the Arachnaroks as kind of manifestations of their god. And they're more than simple mounts. They're not just utility vehicles. There is a very reverent fear there too. And entire nests are built around Arachnarok locations. They are the demigods and crucial allies of the Spiderfang raids. Now, most Arachnaroks you see are actually the younger ones. They are more aggressive and fiercely territorial, easily led into nesting pits by shaman to become living war engines. They typically lead the charge in any stock tribe. And these are the ones you'll often see with like a crude platform built onto the back of them, covered in cackling grots, throwing spears, shooting bows, whatever they can, as they ride into battle, feeling very invincible. But moving on that, there are all kinds of variants on the Arachnarok. And they have different uses for war based on their temperament, because as they age, they become more calm, easier to guide. And so the older variants are kind of fitted with flingers, which are called like basically crude catapults. And this is supposed to add like ranged capability to an already impressive monster that has a lot of damage output. And some venom-fueled shaman can commune with the extremely old ones. And these are outfitted with these kind of twisted shrines that act as a pseudo-mount, really more of a mobile chapel for the shaman. And beyond that, there's one last kind of Arachnarok, and this is like an even more holy on a totally different level. These are these Skitterstrand Arachnaroks. And what they do is basically imagine all the realms, imagine a kind of a spider web kind of holding them together. Well, this is the kind of spider that lives on that web, if you will. He follows the strands of mortality itself, and they hail exclusively from Shyish, and they're drawn to mass violence and bloodshed. They burrow through the realms themselves as if they were on a web, popping up in the middle of fortifications, behind enemy lines. And this is really functionally to give us a Arachnarok that is uncontrolled. There's nothing on his back, no one's guiding him. He's just a kind of this loosed creature of destruction that has no master. Their rarity and aggression kind of is seen as a blessing from the spider god to the shaman. So why are these cool? Like, why is this particular sub-faction super exciting? Well, I think it does a few things. One, it shows that it's not all randomness. Like, these are disciplined creatures where like there's a keen predatory intelligence in their creatures, their mounts. That kind of, I think, contrasts to Squigs really, really well. These seem much more focused. There's fewer units, but they have a very specific role in the battlefield, and I absolutely love it. In addition to that, the Arachnarok model, no matter which variant you build them as, is incredible. I think it is truly one of the coolest models that GW has made, just because the sheer scale of it is absolutely awesome. And giving us all different kinds of War Scroll profiles based on how you actually assemble and build it, I think only really adds to that. Where the Moonclan Grots really excel in flexibility, like your Skull Mob can look like whatever you want it to look like with all kinds of different leaders and things like that. I like the kind of pseudo structure we're given here. Like this is a very organized religious type of thing. Like, Moonclan Grots are religious fanatics as well, but this is more of, there's a higher structure, a hierarchy, if you will. And I like it. I think the way it was written was very, very interesting. I wish that they were compared more to the Bone Splitters, because I get that same sense from them when it comes to their reverence for a living creature as an embodiment of something divine. And I think that that is absolutely what we're trying to drive at. I will add that there is kind of this blurry line between like, okay, so are you worshiping the God Beast or do you actually worship Gorkamorka? But the two, I don't see anywhere in the lore that they're really divided. Like, I think they worship Gorkamorka through his power infused in the God Beast. So like, I think ultimately it is Gorkamorka, but the aspect of him that they see, that they interact with, that they've been able to survive with, is this spider god. So friends, I would love to hear your thoughts. Which of these units do you find the most interesting? I can't think of anything new that came out specifically for this sub-faction here. But again, like I said, I really do love the Arachnarok model, particularly with the shrine on the back. I think describing that more as a mobile chapel rather than a mount, I think, is more accurate. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think is the coolest thing, and really how are you going to fit them into your army. If you are doing Gloomspite Gits and combining all three of the sub-factions or 2 or 3, whatever you want to do. How are they fitting into your lore? What I appreciate about the Battle Tome is that it doesn't really make a distinction. As it talks about the various clans, tribes, nests, however you want to describe that, across the realms, they give 7 examples of different ones. They don't really make a distinction that's like, this one's all spiders, right? Even the ones that have a lot of spiders have everything else too. They integrated these sub-factions so stinking well into each other that I'm curious to know how you see yours fitting into your particular clan. So everyone, go ahead and leave in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we talk about the Troggoths. So get some hobby done, and happy wargaming.